Alright guys, I know it's been a while, but now I'm finally bringing back this series of Megaminx PLL. So in this third episode, I'll be doing the cases with just the edges. So let's get right into it. Alright, so for the first case I'll be going over is U1, which here we have U1 plus and this is U1 minus. These are the really basic ones. Let's start with plus. The way I recognize them is I see which edge has to go to this front spot here. This case, if it's on the right side here, it has to go this side like clockwise. You do this algorithm. Alright, now U1 minus, which this left one would go over here, so it'd be counterclockwise. You hold it like this, and do this U2 prime. Anyway, I'll do it for this just so it's easier to see. So this edge will be going to the back right here. We'll do the pretty much the mirror of that algorithm. So let's do this. Our next cases are U2s. These ones are a little more interesting. The algorithm's a little bit longer, but it's not too bad. So the way you look at it, it's kind of like you make like this big triangle with the edges. So U2 plus, they go clockwise like this. The way I recognize these is I look on the side where there's two. I pretty much look at this one, and if this one goes here, you have U2 plus. But if this one doesn't go here, then you have the other one. So if this one goes here, you do this algorithm. Another way I recognize this is that like you start by doing a U. So you kind of like an RU. So you solve this piece basically. So for U2 minus, it's the this edge doesn't go to this spot, it'll go over here. So you do the same algorithm as the other one, just backwards. Alright, next we have our Z-perms. There's 3 of them. They can also be a little tricky to differentiate, especially these two, but we'll get to that in a sec. We're going to start with Z1, which will look like this. It kind of looks like Z-perm on a 3x3. We just have 2 adjacent swaps here. So you hold your solved edge or like solved bar in the back right, and you do this algorithm. Now, this is Z3, so we're going to do Z2 next actually. Z2, you hold the solved piece in the front, and you look at it by, it's kind of like an H perm, I guess. Well, not really, maybe this one's more like an H perm. Anyway, this one has, you swap these two and these two, so they're like parallel like this kind of, you know what I mean? And then this algorithm will go like this. Sorry, my turning's not great. This is a pretty bad Megaminx now. And the last one is Z3, which this one's kind of like an H perm, I guess. So you swap these two, and they kind of like intersect with each other. And the algorithm looks like this. I guess this one's kind of easier to execute on the table because you're like turning 2 sides at once. I guess you can do it like this. If you can get good at that, it's probably better, but can also be a little awkward, but it's really up to you, whatever works, you know. Alright, so those are the Z perms. Alright, now I'm doing the H perms, which they were in the last video, but they can also be edge cycles as well as corner cycles. So I'll just go over them again. So we'll start with H1, all the edges go clockwise. So you'll do the U perm that brings this edge to the front, and a U prime, then you do the same one. Looks like that. And then H1 minus is the same concept because counterclockwise though, so you just do the U perm that brings this edge to here, and a U, and do it again. Alright, now we have the H2 perms, which are also corner or edge cycles, depending on which way you want to look at it. So that's why I put them in this video. So to recognize them, I look at it as an edge cycle, because to me it's a little easier than, or a corner cycle, so that's a little easier to recognize than an edge cycle, because these you could get confused with Q-perms, which are the ones I'll do next. So the first one, this is H2+. So when the headlights for the front edge here are in the left, so you'll do this algorithm. Do kind of like that anti-soon and this big soon thingy. So it looks like, not like that, it looks like this. And the other one's the same thing. Again, I went over these in the last video. So this edge, and then the headlights will be on the right here, so you do that just backwards. Alright, the last 4 cases we'll be doing are the Q-perms. They're really hard to recognize, but there is a little bit of a method to them. So we'll start with Q1+. So the way I like to recognize the Q1s is if you do one move from when the corners are solved like this, you'll have, if you either do a U prime or a U, you want to look for when one of your edges is solved. So in this case, for plus, you do a U prime, and then this edge is solved. This one, do the same thing. So if I do a U, this edge will be solved. So anyway, you want to put your solved edge on the right here, and you look at the headlights. For the Q1s, they'll either be right here or right here. So for Q1+, since the headlights go this way, you're going to do, the headlights go clockwise. So you want to do clockwise U2s at the beginning. Alright, so for Q1-, and we already went over that we have to do a U to solve this edge. Since our headlights go counterclockwise, we'll do counterclockwise U2s at the beginning. Alright, now Q2 perms, these are the harder ones to recognize. Well, probably the algorithms are a little harder too, because they're a little more random, not as related to each other, or at least for how I do them. So it's kind of similar to U or U prime. This time we're going to look for 2 edges that will be solved relative to their centers that are like opposite. So for Q2+, this edge in the front, to match its center, would have to go to this one, this spot here. So you do this algorithm. And the other one, Q2-, same thing, we do U or U prime. In this case we do U prime, it'll solve our 2 opposite edges. This time our edge in the front has to go back here to match its center. So this one's a little easier. We just do 2 of these U perms back to back with nothing in the middle of them, and it solves it. Alright, so that concludes episode 3 of my Megaminx PLL series. Hopefully you guys learned something new, and also stay tuned for the next one, which honestly I'm not really sure what it's going to be right now, but we'll figure that out. It'll probably come out within the next 1 or 2 weeks, so see you later.